Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we are going to dive into the wonderful world of tomatoes and growing tomatoes from saved seed and cuttings. So if you are eager to enjoy your own homegrown tomatoes, then this video is for you. Let's get started. First up, let's talk about growing tomatoes from cuttings. This is a fantastic way of growing your favorite tomato varieties. Here's what you need to do. Choose a healthy plant with strong leaves and stems. You will need a little scissor or pruning shears and some potting soil or just a glass of water. You could also use some rooting hormone, so that could be on your list. So what you're going to do is you're going to look along the stem of the tomato plant, and then you will notice between the leaf, where the leaf node is, there's a little shoot that is coming on, and these are the side shoots, and these are the ones that you want to just snap off. You can use a little scissor. I usually just snap it off. This one is going to now give me a little bit of a hard time, but there it is, up, it's off, and this is going to be the cutting that you're going to use. So this is my cutting. Normally they snap off a bit easier than that, so I'm just going to strip off the lower leaves like that, and then I'm going to use my little scissor to take out this flower here. So I don't know if you can see that there's a little truss developing. Actually, ideally you don't want it to be this long. You really just want it to be where it's joined between the leaf node and the stem, to be about, to me, I find that's the best. But this is fine, I'm going to use this one, but you don't want the truss now. So I just snip that off with my little scissor, and there it is. And then I can now, actually I'm going to remove this leaf as well. The reason is because I don't want it to lose too much moisture, and so I will remove that leaf as well. Now you can use rooting hormone if you like, but I've never bothered. I just take them just like this. I think I'm actually going to cut it a little shorter. It's a bit long. Yeah, just like this. There's two things you can do. You can either stick them straight into the soil like this, or what I also like to do, I'll put that one in some water. I like to put them in a glass with water in them. And this is like proper old school way of doing it, but this works very well, because if you look closely, this is probably taken last week, and you can already see the roots starting to form there. So that's, I don't use any of those. I think with other plants where it's a little bit tougher to get them to root, then yeah, by all means use the rooting powder or those hormone things, but I don't. I just stick them into the water, or I will stick them straight into the soil. However, they do often wilt quite a bit. You've got to keep the moisture levels right, and sometimes I'll lose some, specifically if they are too small. So there it is. I'm just going to take this one, I'm going to pop it in with all my others that are in this glass of water. I've also got some Felicias that I'm rooting. They take a little longer, but I do it old school like my gran used to do it, and just stick it in some water. And somebody once said to me, oh, these are water roots, and they've got to now adapt and make soil roots. I don't know about that. My feeling is roots are roots, and yeah, they develop in the water, and it will take a little bit of stress when you do stick them in the soil once they have rooted, but as long as you keep the moisture content up. Yeah, so I just wanted to show you here. There, I can remove those ones as well. Sometimes I might even remove that one, but I'll leave that for now. And that is how I propagate the tomatoes that I really like, and it goes fast, because now, I mean, if you have to see, once I've sowed my tomato seeds, then it takes I mean, these were sown 10 days ago, and now they've only got their first 2 leaves. So it's going to take a huge amount of time for them to reach that size. I mean, okay, also in summer and spring things grow a lot faster. So, but still, it just gives you that head start. So I'll show you how I plant this one, which has already got some roots on it. I mean, ideally, you would probably want a little bit more roots than this, but this will be fine. So I'm just going to use a little pot, and then I am going to use some of my potting mixture. Just plant it. Whoops, it's maybe a little bit too much. Okay, so, and then I'll just poke a little hole there. And then just pop it in like that. There we go, firming it in so that the soil is making contact with the stem and with the roots. Okay, then I'm going to take a clear plastic packet. This is sort of to create like a humidity dome. No fancy equipment needed here. I mean, if you had a proper humidity dome, that would be nice. And then I'm just going to use this elastic band and tie it around the pot like that. And then you want to place it in a bright area, but not like a sunny position, but not direct sun. You don't want to be nuked by the sun. And you must just make sure that the substrate, the soil, stays wet. What I do is I just pop it into my my trays here, which have got water in them, and then it absorbs the moisture from the bottom. And that is how you would plant your cutting. Once you see that the tomato plant is now actually established and the roots are well developed, you'll probably see there'll be some new growth and so on. Then you can either pot it on to a bigger pot, or you can then plant it straight into your garden, or into a pot, wherever you're going to have it in its permanent place. Now let's move on to growing tomatoes from saved seed. My favorite tomato variety, well, cocktail tomato variety, is this Spanish Santa one. I'll show you what they look like. They naturally sweet and just lovely to just pop into your salads. You don't have to cut them up. They are just so amazing. You can even, last year I had so many of them that I was able to make tomato sauce, which I would then add to pastas or anything that required a tomato base. Now, what some people do is, and I've seen it often on YouTube actually, and on gardening channels, is they have this whole process of soaking the tomato seeds and then like washing them off to get that jelly stuff off. Well, I have never done that. I've never done it. To me, I'm always going the route of the least resistance. And if I've got an easier way to do it, if there is an easier way to do it, then I'm all for that. So let me show you what I do with my tomatoes and how I have grown these ones and all of these ones. And it seems to work just fine without all the effort of washing and soaking them in water. So if you're at the end of the growing season and you wanted to save some of your own homegrown tomatoes, which is probably a good idea because they'll be used to your growing environment, your little microclimate and your soil, then you would choose the nice ripe tomatoes and you will scoop out the seeds, and then all I do is I just put it on paper towel and I let it dry. What other growers do is they actually ferment it in, they take the seeds and they put them into water and then they ferment it. I've never done that before. And then they rinse it and all that stuff. And then they put it onto the paper towel. When I'm growing like now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take these tomatoes straight up. And I'm going to fill my trays. I'm going to fill my tray with potting soil. Okay, and then I'll make a little sort of indent because they're quite small, the seeds, so you don't want to plant them too deep, like that. And then I'm going to open the tomato, and there's the seeds. I mean, there's loads. I actually only need the one tomato. And then I'll put maybe 2 or 3 seeds per cell, straight up like this. I mean, there's just loads of seeds in one tomato. And then I'll just lightly cover them with some soil. The soil is already moist. It's the same with, well, it's the same soil obviously that I used for the little cutting. So if your soil is dry, then you should water it, but I'm not going to water this now. This is definitely moist enough. And then of course don't forget to label your seed tray so that you know which tomatoes that the variety of the tomatoes that you're growing. So these are Spanish Santa. I also write the date on the back. And then we just pop it in like that. Once your seeds have germinated and they've got their nice 2 little leaves, then you can thin them out. You can either just take a little scissor and then just terminate the ones that you don't want, but I'm always like, no, it took the effort to grow, so it will germinate, so then I will just thin them out. I mean, I will actually transplant them, so I will prick them out. I'll prick out so I'll pick out that second one and then plant it, because now you can see of these tomatoes I didn't have germination on those 2 cells, so that's fine. Then I'll just move those ones along. And then so I've planted them in these 12 cell trays. Once they get their first true leaves, then I'm going to pot them onto the 6 cell, and then once they're big enough to go into the garden, then I'll just move them along, because right now it's spring. But if I was going to start any sooner, then I would maybe pot them on once more until they're actually bigger. Sometimes I do actually do that. It depends. I see how vigorous they are. Sometimes it's better to actually let them grow into sturdy little plants by potting them on into the individual things. I like to use these little bags. This is just this is a very, the smallest one I think that you can get, and then I'll pot them on until they're nice and big, and then plant them outdoors into the position where I want them to be. So there you have it, 2 ways to grow your favorite varieties of tomatoes from cuttings and from saved seed. So if you enjoyed this video, then please share with your friends and like and subscribe, and I hope that you have a fantastic day further, and I'll see you in the next video.